It's the Loni Swain Show, weekdays 9 a.m. to 2 p.m. on WGCI FM Chicago.
We at Connections for Abused Women and Their Children define domestic violence as establishing and maintaining power and control over an intimate partner or family member through the use of fear and intimidation. Some of the dynamics look like physical abuse, the kicking, punching, slapping, hitting, but there's also emotional and psychological abuse where abusers will start off by saying things like you're stupid or you're ugly or why are you wearing your hair like that? Your hair is too long. Your hair is too short. Why are you wearing that dress? Or, let me pick out something else for you. And really trying to take control over what you do and what you wear. Tactics also include threats and intimidation. You better be home at a certain time. I clock you. It should take only 20 minutes from work to home. And if you're not here, you know what happened the last time you weren't here on time, and you may get beat up again. There's also isolation, where abusers will take away a woman's lifeline supports, where many things that we may take for granted, like going to the grocery store, coming to GCI to do an interview, going out to dinner or drinks after work, where we may take for granted, victims of domestic violence have to get permission to do so, or they're not allowed to do it at all. Some of the early warning signs are when abusers want to get involved so quick, when after a couple of dates, they're like, oh, I love you so much, let's get married, or I only want to see you exclusively. There's a possibility that those feelings are real, but you kind of have to decide whether or not, we've really had that much invested in this relationship and this time together for him to feel that way. Another warning sign or red flag can be if there's a history of abuse. Sometimes us women will say, well, I can be the one that changes him, that will change him, that he won't do this to me. Or I'm strong enough where, I know this won't happen to me. And unfortunately, then they find out that it actually does happen to them. Other warning signs can be drugs and alcohol. It's not a cause for abuse to happen, but it certainly can exacerbate a situation. Other things might just be his response to anger. How does he manage that anger? Does he just blow up if it's just a simple traffic stop? Or is he like, okay, I'm going to deal with this in a rational way? Those are some of the things that women should really see as red flags for abusive relationships. Some of the things that you can do if you find yourself in an abusive relationship is one of the first things I would recommend is to do your research outside of the house. Because if you're on the computer, your perpetrator can be tech savvy, and he can look at your history and keystrokes, and they have all sorts of technology where abusers can keep track of things that you're looking at on computers. So I would recommend going to a friend's house or to a library or someplace public where you can go and you can do the research, where you won't have to worry about the abuser finding out. Same thing with cell phones. Be very careful about a landline or even cell phones, and particularly if it's a cell phone he purchased for you, because there's all kinds of interesting technology that abusers can attach to phones to make it easy for them, again, to monitor conversations, do automatic callbacks to see, oh, wow, you called Connections for Abused Women and Your Children, and now she's at risk of danger. But definitely to go and research those agencies like ours to find out the services that are provided, find out where domestic violence shelters are, legal rights. A lot of women don't realize that domestic violence is a crime that can be prosecuted by the police, and so she can learn more about that. Or if she is in extreme danger, she can work with a counselor advocate to try to do some safety planning to try to help get into a domestic violence shelter. And counselors can do sometimes very easy plans depending on her life and what's going on, or sometimes they're very complicated plans. But I really want women to know there is help, there is hope, and we've dealt with some extremely difficult situations where the woman thought there's no way I can get out of here because he just monitors things so closely, but we've been able to help get them out of the relationship and get them into safety. One of the best things is to be supportive and to be supportive from beginning to end. And we know it can be difficult because victims of domestic violence make a lot of decisions about their relationships that sometimes we just don't understand. But they're making those decisions out of fear. They're making them because sometimes their abusers say, if you tell anybody or if you try to leave me, I'll hurt you or I'll kill you or I'll even hurt or kill some of your family members or friends. And one of the things that we tell victims of domestic violence all the time is to take those threats seriously. So she may be going through some things that you don't even know about for fear or for protection, even for you. So remain supportive. I also tell friends that, and family members to become familiar with domestic violence resources. One of the best ways to help is to have a hotline number like our number or other domestic violence resource information that they can give to that friend that's in trouble. They can allow them to come to their house and make a hotline call and find out what those resources are. And then the last thing I would say is to really believe them, because perpetrators of domestic violence almost always say, nobody's going to believe you. Why are you going to tell anybody? They're going to think you're crazy. They're going to take your children away. They're going to try to lock you up and all kinds of things. And so one of the biggest things that family members and friends can do is to just believe her and validate her feelings as she's going through this difficult time. We provide Chicago's first 24-hour domestic violence hotline, and that number is 773-278-4566. We have an emergency domestic violence shelter, 42-bed shelter for women and children, where they can come and they can get individual and group counseling for themselves and for their children. And then for together as a unit, because there's a lot of damage that's done as a result of domestic violence to the family unit. We also have services at Haymarket Substance Abuse Treatment Center, where women can receive individual and group counseling while they're in recovery. We have a program called the Humble Park Outreach Program. In Humble Park, we're housed in Association House at 1116 North Kedzie Avenue. And there we have walk-in services for women where they can get individual and group counseling as well. We have a family trauma therapist at that program and at our shelter, where children who have particularly difficult challenges as a result of witnessing and or experiencing domestic violence now are having. And so we have a counselor that can help them with that. And then lastly, we have services at John H. Stroger Hospital of Cook County, where patients, family members and friends actually, and visitors of those patients can receive domestic violence counseling and advocacy as well. We also have legal advocacy. I don't think I mentioned that earlier, where we have a legal advocate. She's not an attorney, but she's so well versed in the rights of a woman under the Illinois Domestic Violence Act, where she can go to 555 West Harrison Street, which is the domestic violence court, and assist a woman or a man, because there are male victims of domestic violence as well, but she can assist them with getting police reports and that really challenging, scary process of getting an order of protection. Our walk-in service address is 1116 North Kedzie. We're in the Association House building. Our telephone number, our main number is 773-489-9081. Our hotline number, 24 hours, is 773-278-4566. And I have to say that on our hotline number, we have a staff that that speaks 7 different languages there. So don't worry if English isn't your first language. And then our website is www.cawc.org.